The character used in this video is the exact version of the Ball Lightning and Fireball build, so if you want to copy any of these skills, refer to that guide and make the changes as I show them in this video. Here we will see, with our current setup, we are unable to generate enough energy to spam comets. We can only get it to work by casting another skill, which generates Infernal Flame for us to activate Barrier Invocation. But this isn't automatic, so it's no good. We will increase energy shield, so that when we take damage, we take more damage, because our damage taken is based on how much energy shield we have, and thus, gain more energy. We will also add increased energy to boost what we gain from casting Comet. Now when we try to cast our Barrier Invocation, we are able to spam it. However, it now seems we are taking too much damage and will not survive for long. Let's try removing some energy shield from the tree. Because energy gain is based on how much damage we take, and Infernal Flame damages us based on how much energy shield we have, lowering energy shield will reduce the damage we take. This lets us safely spam Barrier Invocation without fear of killing ourselves. Once we reach this point, it is safe to play. Now let's take another look at a skill which we are unable to generate enough energy for. Remember, this build is the exact same as shown in the last video. I have simply made changes to the gems, inside of Barrier Invocation, and some jewels in the tree which I show in this video. Again, we see our spell not continuously casting and sustaining itself. There are many ways to solve this problem, but I will try to show you how to work out the solution. Let's replace our jewels, using increased energy shield, as well as increased energy gained, to help us cast more spells. We are losing some flask life recovery, and flask duration, which must be considered in your form of the build. It is a careful balancing act of stats. This is exactly what we have just done for Comet, and is the same for any spell, because the loop we are using varies depending on our energy shield, maximum mana, cast speed, gem level, fire resistance, whether we are shocked or not, etc. Still looks pretty bad, even after increasing our energy gain. Let's try something else to work in combination with that increased energy. We can remove some of our maximum fire resistance from jewels in the tree, or soul cores from the armor. Let's quickly wait for demon form cooldown. Now we have reduced our resistance, we take more damage, which increases our energy gain. This effect is more noticeable when your resistance is already 90%, because instead of taking 10% damage, we reduce 88% and take 12%, which is 20% more damage. This spell could be optimized much more. I just want to show general practices that may help you to solve problems that you could run into when trying to set up this build, especially when you want to spam the spell and are trying to balance recovery to stay alive. Let's have another look at a problem, and we shall try to use maximum mana as a piece of the solution, to show it is not simply a case of only getting high resistance, or only getting high energy. In this example using Ball Lightning, we are unable to sustain the cost to our life. If you watch the mana globe, which we are filling with Infernal Flame, you can notice that we fill it in two casts. The first cast fills it up halfway, and the second cast fills the rest up, and so we will take damage every 2 Ball Lightnings. Instead of taking damage every 2, if we were to take damage every 3 Ball Lightnings instead, that would be an extra 50% reduction on how much our Infernal Flame damages us. Obviously energy gain is still important as we will not cast much without it, but this can be gained through energy shield as well, so there's multiple ways to gain increased energy. So how can we take damage every 3 lightning balls instead of every 2? By increasing our maximum mana, so that it requires 3 casts to fill, we can control how often we take damage, and this is very helpful when using the capacitor support, which increases maximum energy. You can see that it takes 3 casts to fill by watching the Infernal Flame rise in the mana globe. This has solved the problem of taking too much damage, but now we are not casting fast enough. Energy shield and increased energy are both affecting how much energy we generate, so now that we have controlled how much damage we take, let's try and sort out our energy. After a quick wait for the cooldown. Now we will see that it still takes 3 casts of ball lightning to fill our infernal flame and damage us, but the increased energy we gained has resulted in us losing recovery, which tells us the amount of energy we just gained was too much and must be reduced. We will achieve this by removing the 60% energy shield node and adding back in 2 15% nodes, totaling 30%, and overall leaving us with 30% less energy shield than we started with. This will reduce how much energy we generate and make ball lightning sustainable to spam. There may have been simpler ways to solve that issue. I just want to demonstrate how different stats synergize with each other. Speaking of different stats, let's look at how gem level can affect our cast speed by increasing mana costs, and thus making our infernal flame fill faster and activating barrier invocation more often. We can see, when we are not in demon form, the mana cost of our fireball is 172, and ball lightning has a cost of 203 mana. But when we are in demon form, the cost of fireball has gone up to 362. This is more than double from before, and is due to the +6 to all skills for a level 20 demon form, unlocked at level 90. As we can see, the cost for ball lightning also more than doubled, and is now 428 mana. At the minute everything is looking okay, but what happens if we remove some of gem's skill levels, and thereby reducing the mana cost, and the infernal flame we generate? See how it is currently costing us 428 mana, but when we remove +2 levels, we reduce it to 334 mana. Demon form is currently bugged, because of a snapshotting bug that people exploited. Now any changes we make won't take effect until after we leave our current transformation. It is now we see the effect of reducing our gem level and mana cost, as we cannot generate enough infernal flame to fill our globe. Once we socket our jewel back into the tree, the changes won't take effect until we retransform, so keep that in mind if you experience anything like this while in demon form. So we see that even though our levels have gone back to normal, and it should work, because we transformed into this form without the plus level, we don't get it until we transform again. Another cooldown. Mana cost can also be manipulated with support gems, with an example such as Spell Echo, having a mana multiplier of 150%, or magnified effect with 120%. Some supports also have no mana multiplier. There are broadly 2 categories of problem you will encounter, at some point, in making this type of build. You will either not cast spells fast enough, or you will be casting them so fast that you cannot sustain the damage you deal to yourself and die. Here is another example of casting spells too quickly. This is not sustainable and we would eventually die. When we rely on demon form for damage, we have to ensure our recovery and sustainability keep us alive. Although this can be as simple as altering energy shield value, as it's the easiest thing to change with the least hassle. By reducing energy shield, we have reduced the energy gain received per cast, which will slow down how fast we take damage, hopefully balancing at a point where our recovery is greater than it. It is also important to remember that our recovery is not just for healing the damage we deal to ourselves, but also the damage enemies deal to us, so it's always good to have plenty of extra flask recovery. If you're interested in playing with some of the builds I've shown in this video, using skills such as Comet, or Ball Lightning, or Ice Nova and Frostbolt, or Lightning Warp and Ball Lightning, I would recommend copying the Ball Lightning and Fireball version from the previous video with a full showcase, then copying the changes made in this video, to suit the skill gems you want to use. There is also the case of being shocked. Making your build shockproof will probably require a lot of testing and fine-tuning. As demonstrated here, the version of the build, in the guide from the last video, is shockproof. The shock debuff is shown by the health globe, and at the top of the screen in the debuff bar. If there's anything I've missed or haven't mentioned, let me know, or if there's anything else you want help with, I'll try my best to help you. Thanks for watching, and good luck.